Folks, College Sports Now, Week 0 edition in your feeds. A lot going on today. Super excited. We got Roddy Jones, ACC Network, ESPN, SiriusXM, just a jack of all trades. Tripp Hurd, the Doc of Locks, hanging out with us. We have a suggestion box here on College Sports Now. It is owned, operated, and moderated by me. I'm the only one who sees it.
Oh.
A lot of feedback in the summer. Shout out to the Verts. More Tripp Hurd.
More locked.
Really?
So here he is.
That really happened?
Yeah,
Good.
it really happened. This is going to be fun because Tripp is a closeted, maybe out in the open, Florida State fan. Roddy, of course, is a proud alum of the Institute of Technology. We got a game on Saturday afternoon, folks, and we're going to talk about it a lot here on the program. So we'll get to that. Joe Ovies is going to be stopping by in about 30 minutes. It's going to be an ACC-heavy show today. Joe's great, does an awesome job with the OG podcast, YouTube channel, the whole shebang. There's a live in the flesh podcast festival happening in Raleigh this weekend. Hand in the Dirt may or may not be involved, so I'll get to hang out with Joe and everyone this weekend. So that'll be a lot of fun. Roddy, it's game week, bro. How are we feeling down on the flats? Let's go. Let's jump right in.
First and foremost, I'd like to start by saying this. I do not have a game this week. It is week 0. Your boy has no games. I have no responsibilities other than whipping some old people in pickleball on Saturday morning while college game day.
Time out. Hang on. Time out real quick. You are an Apple Watch user. I am an Apple Watch user. I don't get notifications on your workouts anymore. I silenced them because you made me feel bad because you're just so active in that space. I saw something come across the notification machine about your pickleball workout. Maybe it was over the weekend.
Yeah,
it was like
Saturday.
900 calories,
Bro,
dude.
2.5 hours. Some slight breaks, and I honestly forgot to record half of one match, so there was another 15 minutes in there that didn't get added. But your boy got about, 85, 90 minutes of pickleball with these old folk. And here's the thing. They got the control, but your boys got the court coverage. So you may be able to dink all you want to these corners, but your boys got short area quickness. I can't go long, but I can go short. And most of the time, I can get it back on your side and inbounds. So I got a date on Saturday morning with these old people. I'm about to go, and I'm going to whip up on them in some pickleball. I beat my wife for the first time last week.
In pickleball, just to clarify, in pickleball. Yeah,
in pickleball. Lovely people. Actually,
indoor,
really
outdoor, like what are we talking?
This was an outdoor setup. They got 4 courts at this church over in West Cobb.
Okay.
Lovely folks. Walked away, and the pastor who I played with 2 matches, played 2 matches with him. Didn't know he was the pastor. Jerry, shout out to Jerry. Jerry emails me, and he's like, "Hey, man, did a little Google on you after." I'm like, "Jerry, come on, man. You don't have to do that. Just ask me, bro. Just ask me."
They didn't know?
So here's how it typically goes. Like, I am not the level of some people where it's like, hey, immediately So if you're not into like Georgia Tech and it doesn't snap right away, but if you're like tangentially follow Georgia Tech or Georgia Tech people, it's like that sounds familiar. It sounds familiar. And then you give it a Google, and then this is not like a flex, but like you Google my name and a lot of stuff comes up because I am in the public sphere. Not I. The eye is pointed elsewhere, but the sphere, which means like I can get aggregated real quick. So Jerry gave me a little goog, and then he emails me. He's like, "Hey man, didn't know that you were like an athlete." I'm like, "Yeah, man, come on, Jerry, you should have known that as soon as I walked up, baby." But so I'm doing that anyway. I say all that to say, I am full fan mode this week on that game in Ireland. Usually, I have to have my eye elsewhere, preparing for my game, which makes me very objective when Georgia Tech plays. But I'm full fan mode. So I told EJ Manuel, my boy EJ Manuel, I'm not talking to him this week. Can't talk to him. Like, we'll talk again next week. So he has the show on Sirius after ours. So I see him on the Zoom after we get done. So I have to tell Jacob Hester, I'm like, Jacob Hester, tell EJ Manuel I hope he's having a good day because I'm not talking to EJ. So that's how we're going to operate here, Tripp. If you're a closeted or not so closeted Florida State fan, Steven, tell Tripp that I said that we are not having conversations this week because this game week and we throwing down the gauntlet.
I don't want to speak for Tripp, but I think Tripp, you tell me, man. You're slightly on edge, a little concerned. Go ahead, bro. The floor is yours.
there's no closet around here. I'm a Florida State fan. Duke basketball, Florida State football. I don't care. Send all the hate mail you want. That's how it is.
Yankees, Dodgers, Lakers,
Cowboys.
I mean, just go down the list. But yeah,
Michigan football now.
I think Florida State, Georgia Tech's going to be a really good game. I think it's way too big of a line, so I like Georgia Tech with the points. I think maybe Florida State finds a way to win in the end, but it's going to be a close game.
Here's the thing about all of this. I love all the love that Georgia Tech has been getting here in recent weeks in regards to this game. But it makes it like anytime a team gets this much love, as a lot of people have been saying, hey, look, Georgia Tech going to keep it close. It makes me rethink things. I am a zagger when people zig. I'm a skeptic by nature. If you tell me that something's true, I'm going to be like, we checked into that because I'm not so sure. So here's the thing. We have gotten into this mode in the offseason where we have forgotten what Georgia Tech's fatal flaw was last year. And unfortunately, it aligns very cleanly with Florida State's not only strength of last year, but their projected strength for this year. Georgia Tech's offensive line got a lot better last year. But to say that they were good against good fronts would be very disingenuous. Clemson whooped their ass up and down the field. They handled UCF. They handled Georgia pretty well. So you're going to have a performance like they had against Georgia against Florida State to block that front, because that front's going to be phenomenal. Second thing is they struggled against good offensive lines. Georgia being a slight exception, but they struggled against offensive lines that I think they struggled against offensive lines that particularly ran the ball well. They were awful against the run. Defense was bad in general, but they were awful against the run. With DJ Uiagalelei at quarterback and that offensive line coming back, Florida State's offensive line is going to be really good. And if those two things are true in that game, Florida State defensive line is really good. Florida State's offensive line is really good. Georgia Tech is kind of what they were last year on the offensive line, maybe a little better, and their defense is kind of the same, maybe a little better. Georgia Tech has the potential for struggling. And I think it's like this line being a closer line than Georgia-Clemson, it feels to me kind of like Georgia-Clemson, where Georgia Tech could have a 7-point game into the fourth quarter. Florida State scores. Georgia Tech has to throw the ball. Patrick Payton goes off. Marvin Jones Jr. goes off. It ends up being a 17-point win for Florida State. Like, that's kind of how this game feels to me when I look objectively at it.
Let me just throw this out there. I hear you on DJU, all right? He's not the best quarterback on the field Saturday in Dublin.
No, he's not.
And, I mean, Tripp, get in here, because, we've seen DJ at Clemson. We saw him last year at Corvallis. Is he the guy? Like, I know he's the guy now. I know he's the starter on Saturday, but, like, how's this going to go? Like, how are you feeling about DJU leading this program?
I don't know. I mean, it's a little – I'm very bought in on Norvell, but sure. DJU, I don't think he has to be great. I don't think the Roydell Williams has to be great. I think they'll always be able to run the ball while Norvell's there. I think they'll be okay on offense, but wouldn't be surprised at all if it's a very slow start. But like Roddy said, the FSU defense, here's a number that I really like in this game. First half, under 28 points.
Wow.
That is degenerate nation. It takes a while
for both offenses to start clicking. I think that's a great little number right there. Keep it under 28 in the first half. I think that's probably my first lock of the 24 season.
First half under in a week 0 game in another country.
Yeah. Actually, everything you just said lines up to make it make more sense as we go along.
What's the weather looking like in Dublin? All right, is it a sloppy track? I mean,
it's a great question. I'm not at all.
I'm not as much worried about that as I am the UV index, which is going to be a little high. I think I'll double check it here.
True story. I have been to Dublin. I have not been to Aviva Stadium. We went to Croke Park, which is like the older version of Aviva, like a big
the high
stadium.
On Saturday is 62 and partly cloudy. What a lovely freaking day.
Perfect. There was a little nip in the air this morning here in the Piedmont of North Carolina. I don't know what it was like down there, in are you inside the perimeter, just outside?
No, hell no, I'm not inside the perimeter. You see what's going on inside the perimeter, bro? I got kids.
Yeah, dude, trust me. My mom's in Midtown. I'm like, hey, anytime you want to shut it down, I will gladly drive the moving truck down there. You just let me know when, okay? I think you're right, Roddy. I think not just from a rooting interest, man. I think this game will be competitive, and we'll see. Like, regardless of outcome for me, and I'm obviously not an alum of the Institute, even though there is a football helmet above my shoulder here. I think there's clearly momentum with the Georgia Tech program that, let's be honest, had no business going to a bowl game last year, but did. They got the extra practices. They just signed a 5-star offensive line commitment who's the highest-rated prospect since some dude named Calvin.
Yeah.
So, look, Brent Key, people were like, yeah, this guy's just going to keep the car idling for a couple of years before they bring in somebody else. I mean, this is a program with some upward trajectory, which is exciting because, man, this ACC conference, and Roddy, Tripp, I know you guys were in Charlotte over the summer and you were at Media Days, which was a 4-day marathon event. But, dude, there are 17 teams in this league, and it's tough to kind of make sense of what this league is going to look like outside of a couple of name brands at the top. So, excited to talk to Joe Ovies about that when he comes on here in about 20 minutes. Obviously, he's kind of based in the Triangle, but UNC, NC State, fascinating situation there. I think Duke's going to be better, even though they're probably going to win less games. So there's a lot of intrigue here. Folks are not excited, Roddy, about what's happening here in Deektown. It might be a long season for Coach Clausen and them boys.
It's interesting because I was there over the week. Over the summer, which I'll get into in a second. I want to go back to the Florida State Georgia Tech thing if I can for just a second.
Sure.
The DJ Uyunglele thing, I think, is the difference between them being a college football playoff team or not. Like, the rest of that team is good enough. I don't think their ceiling is as high as their ceiling was last year because they're not as good. Like, whatever they say, they're not as good on the defensive line. You lost 2 top 40 picks on the defensive line. And, like, people will say, oh, Patrick Payton is going to be great this year. Like, okay, he was on the team last year. So he neutralizes himself, maybe improves them a little bit because he gets better from his perspective. But replacing Braden Fisk, you cannot tell me that they are just going to roll somebody in and replace him. And Jared Verse was a top 15 or top 16 pick. Like, Marvin Jones Jr. might be, but we don't know that yet. So I don't think they're better on the defensive line. They could be better at receiver. But again, DJ has to be healthy and good to take advantage of that. And the only reason I say they could be better at receiver is because those guys were banged up last year. And they actually were not as productive as their draft slots would suggest. Keon Coleman was phenomenal in moments and won them games. Clemson won them the game against Clemson. Had a couple punt returns in some games that changed the game for them. But overall, his production was not what we would expect from the 33rd pick in the draft. Like, it wasn't. He was very, very good, but he didn't have, 1,600 yards and 20 touchdowns. And Johnny Wilson was a drop machine, but still a big one and made some big plays for him. Jaheim Bell was underutilized, so I do think they could be better at receiver. They will not be better at running back, though. Roydell Williams, the thing about them last year is Trey Benson was a walking big play, especially the second half of the year when they really need. He got off to a slow start, but second half of the year, dude created a ton of big plays. Lawrence Toafili might be able to do that. Roydell Williams will not. And so, like, they will be more methodical, I think, on offense, unless the big plays come from the receiver, which goes back to DJ Uyunglele. So all of that sort of ties together. The offensive line will be better. But this is an interesting year for them because the teams with the highest ceilings in the league, we don't trust. We don't trust Miami. We don't trust Clemson.
You trust Miami?
I don't trust them. I like them. I don't trust them. They have, to me, have higher ceilings than Florida State does because they have more Clemson certainly, I think, has more top-end talent. Florida State has a lot. I'm not saying they're devoid of talent, but I think Clemson has more top-end talent, and they have more room to grow. And Miami has a quarterback that I think can take them further, and a very similar makeup to Florida State. So that part's going to be interesting to me, and we'll see a lot of it week 1. On the Deke, I think the Dekes will be better this year, man. I do. I think the Dekes will be a lot better. They'll be better at quarterback. Donovan Green's healthy. Devon Claiborne's an absolute rock star of a running back. That offensive line, as long as they stay healthy, but that offensive line should be very solid. We'll see defensively. They got some guys in the portal they really like. The Branson Combs kid they really like as an FCS transfer. They got a kid from where is the defensive back from? A big, like 6'3" defensive back from he's an FBS transfer. I can't remember where. I think it's like group of 5. But he should be a good player for it. They got some, and Sheen Davis is he's a real NFL prospect. So I think the Deeks will be good. I think the Deeks make a bowl.
Okay. There's your Wake Forest football minute here on CSN. Listen, I'm a parent. I love going to Wake Forest athletic events. Like, Tripp, I don't know if you brought your daughter to a Wake game yet, but like, man, it's just, Roddy, you'll appreciate this because you got 3 running around. Bro, it's so easy. Pull up, park, walk 500 feet to the stadium. Don't have to deal with aggressive, belligerent, drunk students, alums, Walmart fans. Like, it's just, bro, so easy.
Until basketball season when they're trying to break.
Basketball season, they're handing out Metamucil at halftime, man. Everybody's ready to take a nap.
Wow.
It's an older fan base.
I was going to say, it's a very exciting team. Steve Forbes and dumb boys, as you like to say.
Missed out on the tourney, though, man. You hate to see it. I actually did run into Efton Reed at dinner last night. True story. He's a large man.
Ran into him. Efton Reed at dinner.
Again, we have exceeded our Wake Forest minute. I want to go back to week 0. There's not just one ACC team playing on Saturday. So, Roddy, you're in fan mode, okay? Florida State, Georgia Tech at noon on ESPN. College Game Day is going to be there, the hype machine. And then I don't know what the hours of 3:30, 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock look like. There is a game on the board, Montana State at New Mexico, if you're into that sort of thing.
I am not into that sort of thing. I'll take a gander. Bronco Mendenhall, the coach at New Mexico. New Mexico's an underdog in that game, a big underdog.
They are. I have a feeling that our man Tripp has his eyes on his fingers on the trigger there for the 4 o'clock game on FS1. But SMU at Nevada.
There's no reason to do that.
8 o'clock, CBS Sports Network. Roddy, I don't know where you are on the ponies. Tripp got to talk to Rhett Lashley over the summer. This dude was ready to run through a wall for the SMU head coach. I think they just missed out on the AP Top 25. They're like receiving a ton of votes. People think SMU could be dangerous. So what's that going to be like? ACC guy tuning in to watch SMU's first jaunt in the ACC for you. 8 o'clock Saturday, baby.
I'm checking to make sure I get CBS Sports Network. So let's make sure that we can watch it.
Who's your cable provider? How do you not have CBS Sports Network?
Bro, here's the thing, man. I assume that I do. I've got the sports package with DirecTV Stream, which I should switch to YouTube TV. The thing is, I'm just too lazy right now. The other thing is I don't ever watch CBS Sports Network. So let me check and make sure that I get CBS Sports Network.
I thought you were a soccer guy, Roddy. CBS Sports Network is like, they're full of soccer programming. Champions League, the Whip Around Show, Galazzo Channel. Come on.
I've had to give up. I've had to give up soccer, basically. Like, I can watch it a little bit, and I do enjoy watching it, especially like the Champions League. But I can't be as invested in the Premier League as I once was because there's too much time that I have to invest because I got these kids, man. These kids on Saturday morning, they don't want to, or Sunday morning, sometimes during the week, like they don't let me watch it. So I can't be as invested. So I've had to swing my other weekend sport from soccer, the Premier League mainly, to other things, F1 in particular, which I am obsessed with. But
if you had told me I can't watch soccer because my Saturday mornings are occupied, I'm doing live hits, I'm jumping into Sports Center, I'm giving game day updates, I'm doing ACC Network stuff before my, nationally televised broadcast, I would buy that. But you're talking about the kids, man. Like, you think my kids don't know what's going on with Arsenal and Manchester City? Like, we're watching these games, dude. You got to start early. Indoctrinate these kids. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, we'll see. It's an uphill battle, but we'll see what we can do.
Bro, we watch Bundesliga. We dabble in like a little French Ligue 1.
Bro,
you know about Ligue 1?
Of course I do. PSG wins it every year.
In sport, I'll be dabbling, dude. So
the Bundesliga, 3-team league.
F1,
La Liga,
dude.
2-team league.
F1's boring, man.
Okay, whatever.
It's the same 4 guys that win every race.
I am not here. Okay, there have been 6 different winners in the last 7 races, so you can miss me with that. Secondly, I am not here to defend my F1 fandom. I don't have to. I am comfortable in my F1 fandom. You can say that it's boring, and I will say, okay, that's a you thing. I love watching F1. I will watch F1 qualifying on the field. Last year at Oklahoma, I am on the field watching qualifying as like between the team warmups. I'm sitting on the Oklahoma bench. I've got my phone out. I am watching qualifying before the Oklahoma Arkansas State game. There's Oklahoma coaches coming out and being like, "Hey man, what are you watching? Game day? Nope. F1 qualifying." 2 of them sat down with me and they were like, "It's Max is going to win, right?" I'm like, yeah. But we got to see what happens after Max. Now qualifying is like a real thing. They're on summer break right now. They're going to come back Zandvoort this Saturday. I'm going to have to record it because I said pickleball is in the morning. So qualifying, I'm going to have to record. I'm going to catch up on that after the Georgia Tech game. And then Sunday, boom, my Sunday's filled. We're watching Zandvoort, the Dutch Grand Prix.
Dude, you just gave me PTSD by recounting your week 1 game last year. Oklahoma, Arkansas State. I remember asking you, like, hey, man, where are you going to be week 1? You're like, I'm going to Norman. Oklahoma, Arkansas State. It's not going to be very competitive. And I was like, not so fast, my friend. I thought Arkansas State was going to – they were getting like, I don't know, 30 points or something.
35.
You remember what the final score of that game was?
73-0.
And I think Tripp and I worked the blitz together on Saturday mornings. And I think, like, he's like, hey, man, what do you think of, like, Oklahoma, Arkansas State? And I was like, dude, I think the Red Wolves are going to hang around. And it was 73-0. And I was way off on that game, and that was the start of things to come for the season for me. But 2, I was thinking about you because, like, yes, you're getting paid to call that game.
Yes, you are. But
after the second quarter, wasn't nobody watching that game.
It was tough, man. And Butch Jones cried like at halftime. That was a tough. That's what you earn your money. But going to Norman was awesome, man. Awesome. Like bucket list. Awesome, awesome environment, experience. See the statues. They got a lot of statues outside.
Yeah,
a lot of statues for the Heisman Trophy winners. Very cool place. Love
All
it.
right.
We'll go back
so I maybe you can tell us before we sign off today where you will be for week 1, what your first assignment of the season is. But talk to me a little bit about SMU. Yes. Obviously, they're like 4 touchdown favorites at Nevada. Like, they're going to cruise. But in terms of the outlook for this team, you buying SMU, maybe flirting with 9-10 wins this season? What do you think?
I do think they can flirt with 9 wins. I'm not as eager to jump on the SMU train as some because of what I saw last year in the Big 12. And this is a better league, I think, from top to bottom. Not at the top. Like, Texas was clearly the best team, and Oklahoma would probably be at the best. Oklahoma's last year's team would probably be towards the top of the ACC, but I think the depth is better in this league than the Big 12 last year. It's close, but I think the depth is better. SMU scares me because of what happened with UCF. Like, UCF had a bunch of close games that they lost against teams that they were, quote, better than. They seemed very prepared to go into that league, and they end up 6-6. So I am a little hesitant on SMU because of that. But the schedule sets up well for them. Like, when you look at the top of the league, top 5 teams, let's say, would be considered. I think, I don't know what the preseason polls are, but I thinking back on the media poll, Florida State, Clemson, Miami, NC State, and it was either Virginia Tech or Louisville. Well, SMU only gets 2 of those teams. They don't get Miami, they don't get Clemson, they don't get NC State. Flip to the bottom of the league. Like, who's picked to finish at the bottom? It was Stanford, it was Duke, it was Wake Forest, Virginia, Boston College. SMU gets Stanford, they get Duke, they get Virginia, they get Boston College. They also get Cal. So, like, the schedule sets up really well for them. The thing is, we just saw SMU play an ACC team. You can say that bowls don't matter, and I agree. Like, the result of bowls don't matter. But you watch the game against Boston College, and they did not look markedly better than Boston College. Like, when Virginia Tech plays Boston College, you're like, okay, that team has more guys. Like, they are better. SMU did not look like that, and they lost the game. So Boston College, a dead-ass average ACC team last year. Like, how am I supposed to think, oh, SMU's going to win 9 games in a league when I just saw them play a dead-average Boston College team? Not only did they not win the game, but it's not like it was a fluky win. Like, Boston College won that game by controlling the line of scrimmage, by having Thomas Castellanos make plays. Like, SMU didn't look faster. They didn't look bigger. They didn't look stronger than Boston College. So I'm hesitant on jumping all in. And no slight to the American, but like all the good teams left the American, and then SMU wins it. So
wasn't Preston Stone banged up for that Fenway Bowl though?
Yeah, he was hurt, and that goes to the winning part of it. But like the play, that has nothing to do with the way the offensive line plays. It has nothing to do with the way the defensive line plays. Like that is what I measure. How do you look better than Boston College? They'd also just beat Tulane with Kevin Jennings throwing 2 picks in the game.
Right,
a Tulane team that we thought a lot about. So
that's fair. I remember that Fenway Bowl.
And it was rainy. I understand all the things around
track.
it.
Yeah, playing on a baseball stadium, old building.
But if you put Florida State in that scenario, like I walk away thinking, oh, Florida State is a better team. Florida State played Boston College last year, and it was a close game. But you walked away thinking, okay, Florida State played bad. Like that's a better team that played bad. I did not get that feeling with SMU. I thought, oh, those are 2 evenly matched teams.
Okay. I'm excited just to see this brand of football play in the ACC. Unlike Cal and Stanford, I think SMU is bringing something to the table. Tripp, what do you think?
It's hard not to like the win total for them is 7.5 right now. It's hard not to like the over with that schedule because, yeah, I mean, look, Florida State, when we brought up in Charlotte to the SMU guys, like what game are you looking forward to? 2 of them right off the top mentioned Florida State. So I think they're going to be up for that game. I think that might be a game at Louisville. That's tough.
Nobody's talking
Boston
about
College
Louisville.
sets up for a nice revenge game.
Yeah,
but yeah, I kind of like SMU.
Roddy, nobody's talking about 7.5.
7.5.
I'd be tempted to take the under on that for SMU.
Wow.
Dude, they're 0-6 against the last 6 Power 5 teams they played. Cal and Stanford have more Power 5 wins the past 2 years than SMU does. Some of that is obviously the league that they played in, getting more bites at the apple. But it's not like SMU's been playing, Georgia every week in the non-con. They lost last year. They obviously lost to Oklahoma. They lost to TCU, and who was the other one? BC was the other one. And then the year before, it's a similar type deal. I don't know, man. Like, I think that there is a real difference in playing in one of these leagues. We have not yet seen a team enter one of these leagues from a lower league and be that good, win 8 games in that league. I don't think SMU is going to be the first one. And I will say it again, like, we watered down the American, completely watered it down. And SMU was able to win, and I'm not taking anything away from their championship. But with everybody coming back, I think there's reasons to doubt how good this team actually is when compared to real football teams. Seeing as that they didn't play UTSA, who was the best, who was the second or third best team. They played Tulane, who was incredibly banged up at the end of the year. So Tulane limping into that game. Again, not taken away. SMU was as well. But like they're beating up on like a Navy team where they scored 42 points in the first half. That game's not on the schedule this year. It's not. Going to Stanford is not going to be a 42 point in the first half type deal for SMU. Duke is going to be very good on defense. Louisville is going to be very good on defense, particularly in that front. Virginia is going to be very plucky. They were last year, played a ton of close games. Ton of close games last year for Virginia. So I just think that we need to see it before we can jump all in on SMU.
Plucky Virginia. Okay, we're gonna hit pause on that. We know who the real football powerhouse is in the Commonwealth of Virginia, don't we, Roddy? Let's hear it.
Virginia Tech.
I was thinking James Madison University, just a little further
Chesney,
north on I-81.
And them boys.
That's a handsome man, by the way. Have you
Bob
seen
Chesney
him?
is a handsome man.
God Almighty.
I did Holy Cross games with Bob Chesney.
I mean, that's why you're on this show, because you cover the sport, baby. You're not just feeding at the trough. Whatever the FPI is telling you, you're just regurgitating it and spitting it back out. Let's hit pause on that and bring in our man Joe Ovies. He joins the show next. Joe, what's up, buddy?
What up?
Live and in person. I love the studio, man. You look good.
It's the best.
How we doing?
Good, man. Good. Just drinking from the fire hose. What's up?
There he is.
What happened?
Good, man. Just got to make sure my connection is stable here. No, you're good.
Okay,
I got you.
okay.
We're fine. Can we get you for like 15 minutes?
Yeah, man. That's
15
fine.
minutes work?
Yeah. A little pregame to the podcast
awesome.
recording today.
All right. We got Joe coming down. I love it. Thank you for making time for us. Thank you. All right, we got Joe coming in 3, 2, 1. As promised, our man Joe Ovies from OG Triangle Media does the podcast, does the YouTube feed with Joe Giglio. Awesome stuff. Must follow, especially if you're an ACC fan during this time of the year as college football gets warmed up. Joe, thank you for making the time. Roddy was talking about plucky Virginia just a moment ago, which is always entertaining when we're talking ACC football.
Nobody
stands
Virginia and how competitive they've been more than me.
Very good.
We all have our champions.
Your finest like ACC football take, the one you've workshopped all summer, the one that you feel best about as we get ready for week 0. Go ahead. Take it anywhere you want.
I guess it's almost like a question that I had for you guys. I had jotted this down the other day when it comes to the additions of Cal, Stanford, and SMU. I think we saw this on the ACC network when it was officially time for SMU to join the league. It was refreshing to see a team that actually wants to be in the conference for once, right? We've been so focused on teams that don't want to be in this conference, right down to the Magnificent Seven, thinking about breaking off and doing their own thing, right? That it was kind of refreshing, like quaint. I really don't know how to phrase it. I just turned on the ACC network and I saw SMU like really putting their arms around finally being in a Power 4 or Autonomy 5 conference. So they've been trying for a long time, man. They got all the money, but nobody's wanted them, and now they've got that space, right? So to me, it's more about what of the 3 schools that have been added will be embarrassing because of the most go ACC thing possible, right? So I think it would be funny if SMU at least showed up to the championship game and who knows, maybe potentially won the whole thing while not accepting a single dime from the ACC. Like, we're here for free, baby, just to beat you. That would be funny to me. And then there's also who's going to go to Cal and screw up their season? Miami or NC State? Because you know how this is going to work, right? You got 2 teams with some serious expectations this year. I don't want to say that Mario Cristobal is on the hot seat down in Miami, but if he has another one of these boneheaded situations like what happened against Georgia Tech, which will follow him into this year, and let's say they get caught on a sleepy West Coast trip to Cal, man, Cristobal's going to have to do some answering, right? And then with NC State, it really is about, can they overcome the thing that has plagued the entirety of the Dave Doran era at NC State? A really solid program that we all respect. We all understand that they can develop guys. They can put people in the NFL. They can be in the mix. But typically they'll lose a game that they really, really want back. Which one is it going to be? Is it going to be that Cal game? Like, congratulations, you beat Tennessee. Maybe that puts you into the college football playoff at large situation. Oh, no, you went to Cal and lost. Like, that's the kind of thing that NC State's really trying to overcome in the Dave Doran era. I can see it happening.
Joe, is this Dave Doran's best team? I had someone ask me that the other day, and my answer was like, I mean, that 2017 team was really damn good. Like, that team had Bradley Chubb, who had a million tackles for loss and a defensive line that NFL teams would want. But I mean, you've got a little bit more of the perspective than I think I just thinking about that team.
No, I think you're right.
Is this the best team?
No, I think you're right about 2017. Giglio's walking in and out of the studio right now, and he's still talking about that 2017 NC State team and the missed opportunity, the Kyle Bambard kick, right?
Yep.
So I'm with you. 2017 is probably Dave's best because it was more under the traditional. It was a traditional model for 98%, 99% of college football programs across the country, right? NC State's never going to be on the same level as Georgia. They're never going to be on the same level as Alabama. Even within the conference, we're not talking about a Clemson or Florida State type situation for NC State. What the best you can hope for NC State, and the thing that's always been bothering the fans, is that when you have a window, you better take advantage of that window. We've seen Wake Forest take advantage of that window when Florida State and Clemson happened to be somewhat down, and they had built up over the course of 3 to 4 years and developed guys to stick around to be a good program and cashing in. We saw Duke do it with David Cutcliffe, build up, took advantage of it, showed up and lost to Florida State in the ACC championship game. And that game, I still maintain, was a lot more competitive than people wanted to give Duke credit for. Florida State was just really, on an elite level at that time. So NC State just hasn't done it yet. Heck, even Carolina's been able to cash in.
You talk about ACC championship games. Like, if that onside kick isn't incorrectly called offsides, like, they have a chance to win it against Clemson.
So with State, I would say that this is more along the lines of Dave Dorn having another opportunity to cash in on what's going on in the ACC. No divisions to worry about, a very manageable home schedule, an opportunity against an SEC team early on in the season. So that's what I think State fans are looking at. Not, is this the best group he has? It's, is this his best chance at cashing it in since 2017? I think, what was it? I think 21 was another opportunity. And they've also played it really, really smart in the portal. I know we discussed this. I mean, heck, Roddy, I saw you at ACC kickoff, and that was one of the main talking points about Dave Dorn and NC State. It's combining their development acumen along with identifying talent to complement what they're trying to do. They need a quarterback, opportunity with Grayson McCall. They need somebody more than just Casey Concepcion. All right, let's go in the portal and add some pieces around him, both on the wide receiver group and the running back group. Now, the question is, and I don't know the answer to it because we haven't seen it, if we understand that NC State's defense is not going to be led by Peyton Wilson, if we understand that it will still be good under Tony Gibson, but not necessarily at that level that we saw last year where Peyton just was a man possessed, and the offense is the thing that is going to be the difference maker for NC State, will Dave Dorn allow Robert and I to cook? Because Dave, by now, we got a track record. Dave likes to win a very particular way. Now your offense is the strength. Will you be more dynamic? Remains to be seen. I'll believe it when I see it.
Joe, both of these guys have mentioned already on the show today that they like Duke for some reason. I don't. For what reason would Duke be better than they were last year?
I first off, I need a base level here. I need Hartzell and I need Roddy to explain what it is about Duke.
I'll let you explain. I said Duke will be better than people think.
Okay.
Which isn't saying nearly as much as Steven just said.
I think they will be better, but win less games because the schedule is brutal, Joe. Like, it's like by ACC standards, they get everybody, man.
See, I look, man, if Mike Elko didn't happen at Duke, I'd be on board with you, because we said that last year about Duke. We said that,
but Riley Leonard got hurt.
Yeah, Riley Leonard got hurt, and they still had a really good freaking season with a more brutal schedule. I mean, I think, heck, pretty sure I talked about that plenty last year with Giglio about how Duke, we might not appreciate the next step in Duke after that first year because of the schedule. I think because of the portal defections and having to follow up what Elko had kind of given an identity to for Duke. I don't know what the Manny Diaz identity is for Duke yet. I mean, right now, the identity for Duke just seems to be come on down to Wallace Wade and have a good time. They got 6 DJs for 6 home games.
We got party decks. The
devil.
I have a question about the party decks. They tweeted out a picture that's like, party decks under construction. Like, shouldn't those already be done, man? Like, we got kickoff in a.
I've been told they're ready. I've been told they're ready.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, last week we got the picture of the risers by themselves.
It's not going to be. It's not going to be Vanderbilt's football stadium. Okay. It's last year. It's ready to go. All right. I got a guy on the ground.
Pool. I need a swimming pool like what is it? Everbank Stadium in Jacksonville. That's what I need. Yep.
That's a smart approach, though, right? Like, if you're Duke, put the party decks on there. All you can drink tickets. They've got IG models that are like emceeing in stadium stuff. Like, that's the play.
Is that true?
Yes,
you gotta build it differently at Duke to get people to show up, because you're not showing up
sitting in them seats anyway. Might as well build some over.
I mean, look, man, back in the day, when I first got here and I was doing radio, the joke was, if you got nothing to do with your kids on a Saturday afternoon, go to Wallace Wade, because you can have an entire section for them to climb.
That's true.
So I might have done that. I might have done that once or twice.
Played there twice. And
I was gonna say, Roddy, I'm pretty sure I did that while you were on the football field.
I mean, all of the jokes about Wallace Wade in the past are true. Like, we over-exaggerate a lot of these things that we don't over-exaggerate that.
Hey, man, there was a time where Wallace Wade was the crown jewel of the East. I mean, they put a Rose Bowl.
Hosted a Rose Bowl.
Right?
Yeah.
World War II, they hosted a Rose Bowl. The late Carlton Tudor, columnist for the News and Observer, once told me a story that back in the day when Wake Forest was actually in the town of Wake Forest, they didn't have much of a campus to show. I forgot who the football player was, but the coach took The coach took the recruit to Durham, showed him the campus in Wallace Wade, not telling him that wasn't Wake Forest, and he committed. And then when he showed up on campus, he was like, wait a minute, this is not the campus I was recruited to. What's going on here? So there was a time where Duke was the real deal, man. It's just not that anymore.
It's a heady play. Let's talk about UNC. You're on the ground there. Like, I'm curious from your perspective, you talked about the windows. Has the window closed in Chapel Hill for that football program?
You'd think so, but Carolina's in a weird spot, man. They're really in a weird spot in the Mac Brown 2.0 era. They're telling us that they've got the defensive side of the ball figured out. Maybe because I've been doing this for so long, I've heard this refrain from UNC multiple times, right? And Jeff Collins comes in well respected. I get that. But I've been convinced that the talent on the defensive side of the ball is not as good as people want to make it out to be because of the Mac Brown recruiting bump, because of the North Carolina recruiting bump. Mac's always going to identify talent. But are they being put in the best position to win? They've gone through 3 different defensive coordinators now in the last 5 or 6 years. They can't figure it out. They can say, I know the big talking point from Mac at ACC kickoff and going into the first game is about, we got to play more guys. Okay. Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm not giving Mac and the coaching staff enough credit for the nature of college football today and being so worried about playing time and the potential for your talented guys to transfer if they don't feel like they're getting enough playing time, right? Maybe I'm not giving it enough credit with how they're handling the quarterback situation. The easy thing to say is, well, if you got 3 quarterbacks, if you got 2 quarterbacks, you don't have one. They're going through 3 quarterbacks. I mean, they're trying to keep Jacoby Criswell involved in this quarterback competition. Is it because they don't really have a quarterback and they're just kind of gaslighting us into thinking it's like a real competition? Or are they doing this to make everybody feel involved so they don't have a weird transfer at any given point, right? I mean, you can transfer out of the spring. And that was part of the calculus for how they handled the spring game. That's all a big roundabout way of just saying, I really don't know, man, with UNC. Their schedule is manageable, but they've got a pattern. They'll start off hot. People will look at the empty calories, and we'll see how November comes around. And we will not really get an answer for how North Carolina season goes until we get to November. And much like we can talk about Dave Doran's seasons at NC State completely differently based on the last game of the year. If you flip those Carolina games, we're talking about Dave Doran on the hot seat. If Carolina manages to beat NC State, yeah, well, maybe people look at it a little bit differently. But I'm just not really having a lot of faith in what Mac Brown's been able to do there in going beyond a decent bowl team. I mean, that's it. They're just a decent bowl team, and they'll probably have 8 wins. Mac Brown will do the thing where he'll talk about how they've never done that before, or they don't do that often in these parts unless I'm here. He'll puff his chest out, and he has every right to. But I don't think that's what was sold to people when Mac Brown came back. And most of the season is going to be dealing with who's going to succeed him if they have another empty calorie season.
Joe, I was high on Carolina, and then I sort of came back down to earth. I was high on Carolina all summer because I think their skill positions are as good as they are in the league. Like the tight end room's the best in the league. The receiving core, I think, is upper half of the league, and the running back room is top 2. If not number 1 with Amari and Hampton.
I was going to say, it might be number 1.
Right. And there's an argument that Damian Martinez at Miami is better, but Amari and Hampton was a finalist for the Doak Walker last year. So 100%, let's give him number 1.
Yeah.
The issue that I have with them is obviously the offensive line and the quarterback. And I think the quarterback can be figured out. But the offensive line, they got a bunch of transfers in, and I felt like I was there in the spring and was sort of told, Austin Blasky he was like the 6th guy at Georgia last year. He's coming over from Georgia. He's going to be great first at center, all this stuff. And I was like, man, that's great. Let me see how many snaps he played last year so I can sound smart. Austin Blasky played 40 snaps on offense last year. He's got 162 total snaps in his career at the University of Georgia. And so I'm looking now, what can I believe? What can I believe, Mac? He was clearly the 8th lineman at Georgia. What can I believe? So I kind of say all that to say, I'm with you on the defense. I think the defense will be better, but I'm not buying everything that's being sold. But what is the succession plan if this is Mac Brown's last year, as many people have been saying that it could be?
I mean, I thought last year was going to be his last year. Honestly, I thought the way things had played out, you had two cracks at it with NFL caliber quarterbacks in Sam Howell and Drake May. You probably want to get out now before you do. And Gilio and I have joked about this. I mean, we've seen this at NC State. You follow up Phillip Rivers, you go through the wilderness until you randomly stumbled into Russell Wilson. And then from there, you've been chasing it since, right? So get out. But, look, man, Mac's stubborn. He'll tell you he's stubborn. He wants to try to fix this thing. He likes being in control. Ultimately, it'll come down to whether or not the boosters want to keep giving him money. And then Bubba Cunningham, the AD at North Carolina, can go through the process of hiring the guy I'm guessing he really actually wants to hire. Who that is, I have no idea. I mean, heck, at the rate things are going, they might have another AD by then, because Bubba Cunningham's a well-respected AD and the landscape of college football is changing. And who's to say he might not find himself another gig? I don't know. There's all sorts of uncertainty with UNC and the football program going forward. So I really do not know how to play it. I'll say this. Bomani Jones, who's got his podcast formerly of ESPN. Some of your audience might know him. We're friends with Bomani. He comes on the podcast from time to time. He's a Texas guy. He's a straight up Texas guy. And he loves to tell the story. He's like, whatever you say about Mac Brown, just remember that when the block was hot for Mac at Texas and they wanted him out of there, he dipped. He was down in Florida recruiting to make it seem like, no, you can't fire me while I'm in the middle of the recruiting cycle. And he never made trips down to Florida. But because he knew things were getting hot, he was so stubborn that he went and he started doing that. So whatever the exit plan at UNC is going to be, I just feel like it's going to be awkward based on Mac's track record.
Joe, who you got in Dublin? Bees or Knowles?
Whoa. Yellow Jackets are very different from bees. Okay.
Well, I mean, I want to know who Joe's got on
Yellow
Saturday.
Jackets
Week
don't
0,
make
first
honeycombs.
game on the board. Come on.
Week 0, first game on the boards. All I ask is for something entertaining because I think we're going to have it up on the Rialto screen while we're getting ready for the Sports Podcast Festival on Saturday night at the Rialto in Raleigh.
Big flex.
Yeah,
flex.
That was on my list too. Let's talk about that.
You're going to be there.
I will be there. Yes, I'm making the drive over. I-40.
No, it won't be because he didn't get an invite until last week when I browbeat Stephen Hartzell into giving me an invite.
Roddy, you know how the internet works. Okay, this has been plastered all over the internet for months.
Yeah, but I know all you people.
You don't follow, Roddy, you not following me on Twitter? You're not following us on the gram?
Of course I do.
Come on, dude.
I saw all of it. It's not that I didn't know about it. It's that I wasn't invited.
Okay.
And that's the difference.
Oh, I see.
Like, you know that I know that you know that I know.
Hold on a second. Joe
Gilio's
in the studio right now. You cannot see him, but I'm going to turn his mic on. You should be able to hear him. What's that, Joe?
This is the same guy who comes to Raleigh and doesn't call us.
Yeah. I saw you here for baseball. Heck, we did a hit. And you were a doke. You don't even let us know, man. What up with that?
I did a whole regional and I didn't say anything. You're right.
Okay. So you're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. More than welcome to come on down to the podcast.
It was less a shot at you and Gilio. It was more a shot at Steven and Felder.
Buddy, yeah. I would love to. I've got some tickets in the hopper, man. If you want to drive up, I don't want to ruin your Saturday. You're watching.
Yeah, we got about
ACC games.
Dude, we got about 50 comps, man. We got about 50 comps. Come on down, man.
Got to take care of these old folk on the pickleball court in the morning. And then I got Georgia Tech, Florida State. But if I didn't, I would have come.
All right.
Maybe.
The hoodie's not free. I can tell you that. But
it's the Sports Podcast Festival. We got the OGs, Hand in the Dirt, and then Shutdown Fullcast to close out the evening. What time is all that getting started, Joe, for the folks listening that are making the trek?
So Gilio and I will get things going at 6:00 at the Rialto. We will have Debbie Yao as a scheduled guest, former athletics director at NC State. We'll sit down. I feel like the year of the Wolfpack, which has been 2024, she's got her fingerprints all over it. So I think it's important for Debbie to get her flowers, literally and figuratively, for the podcast festival. So that'll be fun. We will also play an old radio game that we used to do called You're Full of It, Gilio. And we'll have a couple contestants up there to see if they can catch Gilio in a yellow pad stat lie. And if they win, they'll get a handle of bourbon. So that'll be fun. Wow. That'll be fun. I don't know. Like, I'm working on a special message, or at the very least, a special video message. But we'll see. It might be Gilio's greatest antagonist here in the area. working on that. Hopefully that comes through. He's kind of busy this week, but we'll see what happens.
I love it. There are still some tickets available. Sports Podcast Festival at the Rialto Theater, downtown Raleigh. Looking forward to seeing you, Joe, and the other Joe, and everybody else there.
Joe, I have one question before you get out of here.
Yeah,
sorry,
man.
Steven. Have we talked? I think we have talked about the Boo Corrigan like sacrificing himself so that NC State could have the Year of the Wolf. Have we talked about that? Because I feel
How
like
did Boo Corrigan sacrifice himself?
he was the chairman of the committee and took all the heat for the committee doing the Florida State thing. So he threw himself in front of all of the hate that had to come the committee's way, and thus sacrificing himself has reversed the curse of the wolf. Do you buy that at all? Because I feel like Boo Corrigan suffered so that NC State could fly.
No, the reason why the NC State stuff curse is over is because there was an actual sacrifice. Not Boo Corrigan was not a sacrifice. Was not a sacrifice.
He's still employed.
Yeah, as Gilio chimes in. So Gilio and I, was it 2 years ago? 3 years or 2 years ago?
Before the Devin Leary season.
Thank you. We had done a curse reverse. We were in Vegas for the Final Four between North Carolina and Duke. And I went into a witch shop. I'm not making this up, by the way, for people who are listening. This is not a made-up story. This is actually something that happened. So I went into a witch shop and I bought a variety of different things, including something that was called a house cleansing kit. So took all those things in front of Carter Finley Stadium, and we sprinkled some stuff. We burned some things. We buried the box score from the College World Series that NC State was sent home from. I think we had a Peter Golenbach book. Yeah, yeah, right. We also tore out the outside cover of the Peter Golenbach book, Personal Fouls. We buried all of that under a parking space outside Carter Finley Stadium that was numbered 1983. Okay. Now, again, all things that actually happened. The curse reverse was strong enough that I think it bailed NC State out that season. Remember, they started off the year and won at ECU with not one, but two missed field goals.
Yeah.
I think they ended up beating North Carolina at the end of the year with a missed field goal.
That was the year North Carolina was up 9 with 2 minutes to go and lost the game? I did that game. Yeah.
That was a Roddy Jones special. Yes.
But the curse reverse only worked so much, right? NC State did not win the Atlantic Division, like all that kind of stuff. They didn't make it to the ACC championship game or whatever. Then we got fired. 2 NC State grads getting fired on top of a variety of other things that we did. That was the sacrifice that was needed. And after we got fired, it's not lost on us that NC State suddenly had success, both on the football field and, of course, the Final Four run for basketball. I mean, they win the ACC championship, and then they go to the Final Four. So we're going to take credit for NC State's 2024. Heck, I'm going to take credit for their ACC championship game. I know we're over, but I'm telling this story. And Joe can back me up on this. When NC State made it to the ACC championship game in Washington, D.C., we had only gotten hotel rooms through Friday night. So we're scrambling. Well, damn, dude, we got to watch this. And I told Joe, no. You crash with News and Observer photographer Ethan Hyman for an extra night. I'm going home. He's like, why are you going home? I'm like, because I know how this plays out. I am my father's son. I am superstitious. If I completely rearrange my weekend,
can't do it.
They're going to lose. They're going to lose.
Juju.
If I go home, watch them pull off history. And I missed it. I didn't see it in person. Yep. So I went home, and NC State won. So there you
can't have it both ways. You correctly did not disrupt the juju, and I commend you for that.
So NC State fans who claim that we don't like NC State or I hate NC State, no. You're welcome.
And Roddy, next time you're in Raleigh, instead of hanging out at Wegmans, maybe you should call the OGs so that y'all can hang out.
I only hung out at the baseball park with Danny Wexelman. Like that's the only person I saw.
All I know is that Wes Durham shows up to the breeze through. He buys coffee and he comes to the studio. Roddy, what's your excuse?
Wow. Yeah, well, and there it is.
Yeah, I need to learn from the politician.
Joe, you have your own show that we need to let you go and do. Check it out. If you're not following the OGs, you're doing it wrong, man. They do great stuff. Joe Ovies is kind enough to join us. Him and Joe Gilio will do their thing here shortly. You can follow it on YouTube and wherever podcasts are served. Joe, thank you. Appreciate it. And I will see you this weekend.
All right, later, guys.
Joe. See you, Gilio.
That is Joe Ovies there from the OGs. Phenomenal stuff. So, Roddy, you got called out under the carpet, dude. You gotta you gotta do better. You gotta do better.
Hey, look, man, I own it. I'm not good. I don't hit people up when I go places. I don't. I am notoriously bad about that. Not even notoriously bad. I just don't do it. The one person I hit up saying that I was going to be someplace was you. Literally the only one, and you weren't there, which was actually a relief. Not like I didn't want to see you, but I have to go out of my way to do stuff. I'm not quite Felder level curmudgeon, but I prefer to just do my own thing, just go someplace and just I would have hung out with you. You're my boy. But
you like to lock in, and that's okay. I mean, I was out of the country when you were up here for the ACC. What was it, road trip? When you guys were hanging out with Coach Clausen doing hot yoga and whatnot. So that's on me. I will say, though, my trip to Canada with the family, even though it was a trip, it was not a vacation because both of my kids went, highly recommend. I don't know if you like to hike. I don't know if you're into the outdoors or not, Roddy, but highly, highly recommend. And shout out to Canada. I mean, they have their own currency there. It doesn't really compete with USD. So everything that you did out there was cheaper.
Shout out to Canada. Wow,
I'm just saying, man, it was a nice trip. People were friendly. It was non-hostile.
Beautiful pictures.
Shout outs. Yeah, I'm sure the pictures were beautiful.
Canadian
Did you see a grizzly
Rockies.
bear?
No.
Did you see a bald eagle?
No.
Did you see a moose?
Saw some elk.
It's the moose's.
Yeah, look, I think a moose would have been awesome, but I was also the guy that was driving. We had the van, or I racked up. It's kilometers, so I think I'm struggling with the conversion here. We drove 1,500 kilometers, man. We were going all over that place.
Wow, it's like 200 miles.
No, it's
how was it driving on the opposite side of the road?
That they don't do that there.
What?
Yes, they drive on the correct side of the road.
Oh, and did you have to stop at a charging station, like a syrup charging station every?
No, we did have to fill up the van twice though, and it was very expensive. Gas was like $5 a liter.
Oh, that's like $12 a gallon.
Yeah, it was pricey.
Yeah.
The metric system had me all kilometers per hour in the car. I was doing 180.
Whoa! It's like 50 miles an hour.
No, it's not that bad, man. It's not that bad.
I'm very scientific with these.
I think it's like 90 miles per hour. But either way,
wow,
that was good stuff from Joe. I look again
Did you
Roddy
beat
knows
a Mountie?
this. He rolls. I did not see any Mounties.
you
Roddy
said
rolls
you didn't
his
see a
eyes
moose.
when
The
I talk
Mounties
about
ride on mooseback.
ESPN and Fox and ACC Network, SEC Network, Big Ten Network. Everybody's got these agendas, man. You got to realize that this time of the year. When you're watching TV, Wayne gets so triggered by this. Wayne Cook, who will be back with us in his normal spot on Wednesdays along with Phil Steele. He listens to so much college sports radio. He gets so triggered because these people all have their own agendas, right? The SEC is the best conference in the country. The Pac-12 sucks. Whatever lazy narrative you want to subscribe to, it's very easy. I respect what the OGs are doing. Those guys do not feed at the trough. Those guys have their own thing. And I'm late to the party, but I think they do a very good job. So I wanted to bring Joe Ovies on. Really good stuff and just an interesting perspective on college football, especially in the ACC. Roddy, I want to transition to some potential picks here on our way out the door. For longtime listeners, you know about Rodstradamus.
Yeah. I don't want to, before we get into this, I don't want to go super long on this, but I do have a question for you that we sort of asked last week, and I want to sort of workshop something here.
Fire away. Go ahead. You want to steal my takes for your national radio shows on Sirius XM? I'm happy to help.
No, I'm actually just trying to refine my takes for all the other things. It's a workshopping. Sometimes we do this on radio. Sometimes we do it here. There's this notion that the SEC, we talked about it last week, could get 4 teams in the college football playoff. And I think if you asked people who were the 4 teams that could get in, they would say one of 5 teams. Generally, maybe 6. But generally, the teams that you will hear, Georgia, Texas, Alabama, Ole Miss, and then there's a mixture of Tennessee, some LSU, maybe a Texas A&M here and there, but
Missouri.
Missouri. in Missouri. But the four teams that you would consider the best teams in the league: Georgia, Alabama, Texas, Ole Miss. To think that those four are going to get in, like, I just feel like to shoot that down, you just have to look at Georgia's schedule, okay? Because Georgia's schedule, they get Clemson obviously to start, and then they play at Alabama, one of the four teams, at Texas, one of the four teams, at Ole Miss, one of the four teams. They play Tennessee at home, one of the probably 5 or 6 teams if you were to extend that. So of the four teams that we consider the best, Georgia plays the other 3, and then they play one of the ones on the fringes. We think, and I've asked SEC people, like, oh, your Georgia schedule's pretty tough. Like, how do you feel about Georgia and their schedule? Like, oh, if anybody can handle this schedule, it's Georgia. Which to me means like, oh, Georgia's going to beat all those teams. Okay, let's do that. So let's say Alabama, Texas, Ole Miss walk in. They've already got one loss because they played Georgia. Well, then you look at the rest of Ole Miss's schedule. Okay, well, they go to Baton Rouge and play LSU. They go to Fayetteville, play Arkansas. They play Oklahoma at home. They go to Gainesville, play Florida. You're telling me Ole Miss, who we become accustomed to being Ole Miss, is going to have one loss out of the rest of those? Maybe you are, but like if they get to 9-3, I don't think that's a slam dunk. You could do the same thing with Alabama, who has to go on the road to Knoxville. Again, one of those teams has to go on the road to Baton Rouge, has to go on the road to Oklahoma, go to Texas. Texas is a little bit better, but Oklahoma and Dallas, you're on the road in College Station last week of the year. You have to go to Arkansas, which is a rowdy environment, not a very good team, but rowdy environment. So I just think like when you look at that group of teams, they all play Georgia. So let's just assume all of the other non-Georgia teams have a loss. Now you're asking them with those tough schedules later on to only lose one more game. And I think Texas in particular could have an issue with that because they didn't play environments like Arkansas on the road. Like they didn't get that in the Big 12. Biggest crowd they played in front of was at Darrell K. Royal Stadium. And when they played outside of that, it was the Cotton Bowl, split 50-50. Outside of that, it's a bunch of 50,000 seat stadiums they played in the Big 12. Arkansas is going to be a rude awakening because Arkansas will be 2-7 at that point in time, and that place will be packed to the gills, and they will be calling the Hogs like their lives depend on it, and they're going to be like, the hell just happened here? Like, you could have a 6-5 Texas A&M team that place will be freaking-leavable the last week of the year, the Saturday after Thanksgiving for Texas coming to town. And they're going to walk in there like, holy bleeping bleep. 112,000 people showed up for a 6-5 teams, and they hate me. We are not in Ames anymore. I'm just saying, bro. I'm just saying. Well, that's my workshopping theory.
12-team playoff, 4 conference champs, 1
5
group of 5.
Yeah, 5 conference champs.
Yeah, okay. But we're including the group of 5 in there.
Correct.
Right? Yeah,
Correct.
Okay, so 5 conference champs. That means 7 at-larges. There's the Notre Dame X factor that's floating out there. Mm-hmm. So for the sake of this argument, let's say Notre Dame goes 11-1, 10-2, and they're in. Just for the sake of the argument, we could that may be dicey that a 10-2 Notre Dame team makes the playoff. You still have 6 at-large spots, Roddy. Like that's the nature of this new CFP. Yep. I agree that I think the SEC is incredibly well marketed and positioned. Like just look at the AP top 25 in the preseason. I mean, half of the league is there. But I don't want to get into I don't want to get emotional about this take because it's August the 20th. But I do think a 9-3 SEC team will find a way.
Potentially. And I think they will need that in order to get 4 teams in the playoff, which to me means that you are counting on the number of first off, you're counting on no upsets in conference championship games because that can mess everything up.
Sure.
But secondly, you're counting on the number of 2-loss teams to be great enough where you have enough 2-loss teams with questionable resumes where your 3-loss team could get in. Because, like, I'll go to Ole Miss, for instance. If your losses are Georgia at home, LSU on the road, let's say Florida on the road.
You're not getting in. But if you're Georgia and you're 9-3, I think you're getting in. If you're Texas and you're 9-3, If you're Bama and you're 9-3.
I think the Texas one depends, because you could have a win on the road in Ann Arbor as your best win, and then losses to Oklahoma and Dallas, Georgia, Texas A&M, and then your best win other than Michigan is like Kentucky at home. That's a resume where I'm like, unless Michigan's a playoff team. But I don't think it's a slam dunk for any of these teams with the exception of Georgia.
Look, I'm not going to bat. I'm not going to carry the water for the SEC getting 4 teams in. If that is how the season plays out, if the Big 12 cannibalizes itself and there's only one team that can make it out of that league because everybody else has got 2 or 3 losses, which is a very real possibility. I think the Big 10's getting at least 2. At some point, it's just process of elimination. But this is uncharted territory, man. That's why I said last year when FSU got snubbed at 13-0, like, this is going to be really hard to wrap your heads around in the future state of college football when 3 lost teams are making it into the 12-team playoff.
Yeah.
Like that's wild. But yeah, look, group of 5, like somebody's got to go from Conference USA / Sunbelt / American. Like somebody's going to go. Like Liberty plays App State this year. Like that's a game with
implications.
Yeah. Like that's not a far, like Boise State at Georgia Southern week 1. Like Boise State's a team that a lot of people think is going to be in the driver's seat. Not if they lose at Georgia Southern. Not if they go down to Statesboro and catch an L. So this whole thing is going to be awesome to watch, man. I'm here for the stories. Like I'm not here to get triggered by, hey, Peter Burns said 5 teams from the SEC are going to the CFP. I'm not here for that.
Peter Burns gets paid. I heard Peter Burns say 12 teams from the SEC were going to get on the college.
Well, yeah, because Disney writes his checks, man. That's
whoa. Disney writes my checks too.
Do they? That's true. That's right. We're all under the same umbrella. By the way, do you know where you will be on week 1? Or is that news that you can break here on the show? I'm all about breaking news on college sports now.
It is not news I can break on the show. We have not had an announcement. As you know, there have been some shakeups at ESPN here recently. So there has been no announcement, but next week I will confirm where I will be week 1.
Okay. But you know where you're going to be. You just can't tell us.
I do know where I will be. Yeah. I will tell you. I will not speak it into a microphone so that it's on a podcast because I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay. That's fine. That's totally fair. Do you want to make some picks before we get out the door here, Roddy?
Of course I want to make picks.
Okay, real quick.
The lock doctor going first half unders.
First half under. First half under. We'll get to Tripp's picks here in a second. Rodstradamus, longtime listeners know, Roddy has been making selections here on this show for the last 4 seasons. Okay.
Yeah.
Last year,
by the way, I am killing it.
Last year, you were 2 games below 500 for the season. Now
there were some questionable ones in there. There were some questionables. A couple of questionable L's.
You made 152 picks against the spread. Okay, so I mean, shoot or shoot. But Roddy last year was 75 and 77 over a 4-year span. Year before that, you had a good season. You were 12 games above 500 for 4 years. Documented every pick here on CSN. 200 and 193.
Killing it.
You were 7 games above 500. You're literally hitting it like a 50% clip, like 50.2% against the spread. So I don't know if you are profitable, but you're not like a disaster by any stretch. So there are 4 games on the board.
Yep.
And like, if you want to take a stab at any of these, if you want to officially open up the Rodstradamus account in 2024, I am here for it, buddy.
I mean, why wouldn't we? We're only going to do 3. We're going to stay away from Delaware State at Hawaii.
By the way, Tripp, have we confirmed where to watch that game? That's midnight kick on Saturday.
You don't watch that game.
That game is on something. It's got to be.
I'll look and see if there's anything new here, but
Spectrum streaming or some sort of like, is it on the CW?
No, dude, the CW is a respectable network. Dude, you haven't seen because the CW's got some games early in the year.
I'm not poo-pooing the CW, Roddy.
You kind of were.
No, I was not.
Kind of were.
No, I was not.
let me just tell you, the CW has let's see, what's their week 1 game? I don't know if I'm at liberty. Let me see if it's been announced. They got some games, man. They've got an ACC SEC matchup early in the year with a team that's ranked in the top 10. If you want a little hinty.
Is this public information?
I don't know if it's public information.
Don't want you getting in trouble trying to break TV assignments on us. I know that they brought Tom
They're
Brennan
Marshall,
back
Virginia
from the dead.
Tech. Yes, they did. Marshall, Virginia Tech is on the CW. Let me see if that week 3 one is up. Although I've just given it away, like it's not secret. Yes, they've got Ole Miss Wake Forest week 3.
I'm going to be at that game. True story.
Well, you won't get to watch it on the CW then.
CW has fine production value. I know Tripp watches it for Live Golf every weekend.
Dude,
Live Golf, Dawson's Creek, One Tree Hill. Those are all CW shows there. You can't really.
Back when we had our ACC show, we talked about this. We had a whole segment on the CW because we all, we got off our jokes on the CW. And then the CW started broadcasting games, and they've got Pylon Cam, they've got Referee Cam, they've got, I don't think they have Sky Cam. They got more cameras than like 95% of the ESPN broadcasts.
They had Skycam for basketball broadcasts. That's what made me kind of sit forward in my chair. I was like, okay, CW. Okay.
When there were some controversial calls last year that had to do with like in the end zone, out of the end zone. And my consistent refrain was, if that game was on the CW, they would have been able to get that call right because they've got more cameras. So we can say what we want about CW. They put a lot of money into their broadcast.
They are trying. And that's not something to make fun of.
No,
they're trying.
No. Yeah. Great. I know the people that produce the games, but I have great respect for what the CW people are doing because they are putting their money where their mouth is.
Yeah, I'm not here to slander the CW. And I like Dawson's Creek. That was a show, Tripp, back in my day. And Roddy, this is before your time. True story. We used to go to someone's house to watch Dawson's Creek episodes. This was junior, senior year of high school for me. This would have been 2000.
Wow.
2001.
What was her name, and how much did you like her?
That's not important. But, people were like, hey, we do Game of Thrones watch parties. We watch, man, I've been on that, dude. Been on that. 20 years late coming at me with Dawson's Creek, man. Anyway.
That was a great show. A lot of people went to UNC Wilmington alone for the fact that One Tree Hill or Dawson's Creek was being filmed there.
Yeah,
that's true.
Go Seahawks. Yep. All right. So I got 4 games on the board. Rodstradamus is here to open up his account. Talk to me.
Yep. First and foremost, we're going to go Florida State minus the 11.5.
Buying the win. Tale as old as time. You dirty dog.
Emotional hedge is what we call that. Emotional hedge. I win either way, unless Georgia Tech loses and it's by less than, and they cover. That would be
real quick. Take us into your living room situation on Saturday around noon Eastern time. What is Roddy Jones on a game day where he's not working and gets to enjoy games as a fan? Like, are we going like? I picture you as like carrot sticks and hummus kind of guy. Yeah. Lots of water. Maybe a poppy, like one of those like probiotic sodas. What are we doing?
No, I don't do soda. I don't do soda, period. So it's all water. We also, I don't think I've talked about this on the podcast. We are an alcohol-free household now. So maybe one of these non-alcoholic beers. We'll pop one of those. Just
little
for
NA,
fun.
Little Budweiser Zero. Okay.
I don't do the Bud Heavy Zero. Prefer like the Blue Moon. Or the Corona's very good. The Athletic, Athletic Beer Company makes some good ones.
Yeah, sure.
So maybe one of those. I might do some wings. It depends. It depends on how long this pickleball goes in the morning. So I might do some wings, like maybe prep them the night before and then, get them in the oven or oven bake some wings, maybe. Some dips potentially. I don't know. It depends on how excited the family is for it. Because these kids, man. What will these kids eat?
Dude, you got to stop blaming the kids. Just let them know, like, look, this is what Dad does. Okay, they know, they know what Dad does.
I mean, yeah, they kind of do, but like, they don't know that we have to consume the game. Like, they know Dad does games. They don't watch them. They see them. They don't watch them, but they don't know that. Like, hey, look, Georgia Tech is playing, and we're going to sit down and watch. Dude, your kids are like my kids' age. Like, your kids are not sitting down watching 90 minutes of anything.
My kids are 8. My kids are 8 and 5. They have lots of questions about what the numbers mean, what's the red line doing, like what's the yellow line, like what.
So we teach them. They'll be in and out though, and they'll be here for the food. If we got
they
the
can
dips,
be in and out, but like Dad's
the
watching the game on the primary screen. Like if you would like to go read a book,
100%.
young man, you may. But this is
100%.
what we're watching football.
Yes, and I need the volume at a proper level, which the wife doesn't like. I like the game loud. Like I like to feel like I am there. Wife is like, why is it so loud? I'm like, because we like. What do you mean? Why is it so loud?
Because it's
like,
week 0 in Dublin, baby. That's
there
why.
you go. I need all the Irish accents clear through the screen.
Do you wanna throw Tripp's first half under on here, or you want to stay away from that?
Dude, I don't touch first half unders. No, I don't want to be sweating that thing out in the first half. I like it, honestly. I think it's well thought out, well done as a pick. I don't know about it. I would go the game under more than the first half under.
Tripp's never sweated a day in his life.
No.
The game under is 55.5. I would be tempted to go with that. The under there.
That's a lot, dude. That's a lot of points.
A lot of points. Especially if you're not hitting 28 by halftime.
Especially when DJ's a career like 56% completion guy, a walking red zone INT. Like I don't know. We'll see.
He took care of the ball. He took care of the ball last year. And yes, and that is the most interesting thing about Florida State is he was low 60s at Clemson, who threw dinked and dunked. And then at Oregon State, he was, high 50s, but they threw the ball down the field a lot more. So his QBR shot up. He didn't take as many sacks. It was hard play action. They threw the ball down the field more. And it feels like Florida State is a little more set up to do that with like Malik Benson, speed down the field. Like maybe they will, hard play action, deep overs, hard play action, shots down the field. That'll be the thing I'm most interested in. So,
all right. So we got FSU minus 11.5. Roddy's hedging emotionally and financially. What about some of these other games on the board?
So the New Mexico one to me is pretty interesting because being a 10.5-point dog to an FCS team, albeit an FCS playoff team, is a little hard for me to wrap my mind around. So I'll go ahead and buy into Bronco Mendenhall in year 1 and take New Mexico plus the points. I don't know if they win outright, but I'll take New Mexico plus the 10.5.
Tripp, can we get confirmation that line is actually 10.5? Because I'm seeing 9.5 on my end. Roddy does this from time to time.
No, the odds are by ESPN Bet. Odds are by ESPN Bet, and it is a 10.5-point line, which is a legitimate sports book. Wow. 10.5-point line.
I'm actually seeing 11.5.
I will take that.
Let's keep it. Let's keep it at 10.5.
Tripp, thank you.
Let's keep it where it is. The Lobos. God, that is. I mean, of all the games on the board, that is. Like, who's watching that?
Yeah, 10.5 to 11.5. That's
gamblers only watching that game on Saturday afternoon. All right, you got the Noles and you got the Lobos. What about SMU? Talk to me about SMU.
So, I do think they cover against Nevada. Nevada was terrible. 27 is a lot of points, especially for a week 1 game. But I will go with SMU minus the 27 at Nevada.
I got 27.5. There's a hook. Watch out for the hook.
Okay. According to ESPN Bet, the line is 27. I accept the ESPN Bet line of 27.
No, that's not how this works. See,
it's how this works. I found a legitimate sports book with that line.
Tripp and I go with something called the consensus line, which is where it's taking all of the sports books and it's coming up with one consensus line. You can't just
but you can't bet on the consensus line. You have to bet a sports book.
No, but that's kind of the measuring
take your
stick
action.
Here, though. It's the same.
What do you want?
It's
how much do you like these guys?
The line is the line, and the line is just. I just want to clarify because this is for entertainment purposes only. Nobody's out here trying to parlay these things. But I mean, if you are, maybe you should stop. There's a hotline that you can call. But the line is 27.5, just to clarify. That's SMU at Nevada. I've mispronounced that state a lot, Roddy, but it's Nevada.
Nevada.
Not Nevada. They get
prefer
very
We're
sensitive.
From the South, man.
Nevada. I know we are. That's why I've been mispronouncing it for 40 years. 8 o'clock kick on CBS Sports Network. Delaware State at Hawaii. There is no line, which means Rodstradamus will not be contributing a selection. Tripp. You have. I want to plug this appropriately because we're about to get out of here. But you have got a show on Thursday, I believe it drops on Thursday, you, Phil Steele, just trading selections for like an hour.
That's the plan. Yeah, we get into it. We get into the weeds on, I mean, honestly, during the season, we'll do an hour show and we'll probably get you about 25 to 30 games in an hour. So if you want something to listen to, it's not going to take up your whole day, but you get a ton of insight on a lot of games. That's the show for you, the Phil Steele Show. We do it every Thursday. We'll probably be posting that thing up, around 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon every Thursday.
True story. One Roddy Jones will text me on Thursdays to be like, hey, when is Phil's segment coming? Like, I need it. I'm on the road. I like to have it in the hopper when I'm driving around.
It's trrue.
Just
sometimes
so
I got these long drives, like the drive from Kansas City to Manhattan, Kansas. Like, where is it? Like, I need the Felder Friday to show up on Friday mornings. I need Phil Steele's show to show up.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Yeah. Folks, we're back. I mean, we got Roddy in the hopper on Tuesdays, Wayne and Phil Steele waiting in the wings on Wednesday. Felder is back on Friday. If you catch Felder early in the morning, which is when we tape, he is a very different animal than when you tape at night. It's a true story. It's science, okay? Trust me. But Felder will be back on Friday. And then this time next week, dude, we're looking at mountains of games. Like Thursday night next week, have you taken a peek, Roddy? Like UNC underdog at Minnesota on Thursday night.
I have not taken a look at the line.
That line has flipped. That line has flipped. The Gophers are like a touchdown favorite at home against UNC. We get Coach Prime coming at us next Thursday against North Dakota State. I mean, I'm so excited. Like, college football's here. I love talking season, but it's cool when, like, there's actual college football games coming, and that's what we have starting Saturday. You love to see it. Roddy, thank you for making the time. If you want to dance online, bro, you know where to find me. PS5, EACFB. I'm not very good. I throw a lot of interceptions, but if you want to dance, man, I'll dance.
Say less, bro. I just
got to make sure my kids aren't playing Fortnite. Otherwise,
every time you're on, I see you playing Fortnite, and I send you a message.
That's not me,
like, bro,
dude. That's
Fortnite
not
again?
me.
And then you're like, yo, that was my kid that you were talking all that smack to.
Yeah, I'm not hanging out on the Battle Royale servers, man. That's my kid, but he likes it. I can't help it. I got to kick him off the sticks. We're back with some more episodes later this week, and of course, we're streaming on YouTube. You can check us out on the Varsity Network channel there, and of course at CS Now Tweets on Twitter. So interact with the show. Let us know that you're listening. Leave us a review. Tell a friend, because we're back and we're excited to be bringing you the shows. Thanks to Joe Ovies of the OGs. For Tripp, for Roddy, I'm Hartzell. We're out.